How many of you would tell the honest truth if someone asked, "How are you?" The default response is usually a smile and a reply saying, "I'm doing good." Sometimes we might be, but often, more times than not, we might say that we're okay when really we're filled with rage, sadness, or grief. What stopped us from telling the truth? From telling the people closest to us how we were really feeling? Since when did sharing our vulnerability become so hard? Today I'm here to raise a discussion around vulnerability, and I'd like to begin by asking you all a question. Please raise your hands if you would be there for a friend who is going through a tough time. Everyone, amazing, cool. Now please keep your hands raised if reaching out to a friend would be your first response if you were going through a tough time. You can see how that number almost cut in half. Why are we so quick to help others but believe that our struggles are not worthy of help? It's a double standard. In the real world, I'm a personal trainer, and I also co-founded and run my organization, Man Up, where I, alongside a bunch of volunteers, go into high schools and speak to young boys about forming healthier understandings of masculinity and mental health. I would say my ultimate purpose in life at the moment is to live life authentically from my heart, and in doing so, inspire others to do the same. This means not distracting myself with behaviors that stray me away from my values, but choosing to embrace everything going on around me, the good and the bad. The courage to be vulnerable is often not spoken about enough, leading us to think that it's weak to share our own stories. But I believe a person's ability to be vulnerable is in fact their greatest strength. We often talk about helping others, but are hesitant to reach out ourselves. But we need to reframe the way we look at vulnerability. If a close friend was struggling and came to you for help, how would you react? Chances are you would listen empathetically, you wouldn't judge them, and it might even bring you closer together. So if we know that being vulnerable might actually help others and ourselves, why do we all still wear this heavy mask of invincibility and pretend like we're always okay? Well, if you jump onto social media right now, you might see the best version of someone, their highlight reel, leading us to assume that others' lives might be somewhat perfect. What can follow is feelings of shame and guilt when we do have difficult days, so much so that we might even pretend like we're okay, just so we can go back to showing the world how happy we really are. It's a double standard, and I am guilty of this. I use social media for my businesses, but with it comes a false display of my reality. People might look at my life and think I've got it all figured out. But living a life like this can be quite exhausting. And I got to the point this year where I realized I could be doing so much more to provide value to the world. Provide value by showing others that I too go through difficult times just like everyone else. So a month ago, I decided to embark on an experiment. Before I dive into explaining this experiment, I would first like to take a moment to drop my mask. I would like to share with you all my vulnerability and my story, which led me to this point. 2017 was a very formative year in my life. It was a year where on paper, just like today, I seemed to have it all figured out. But on the inside, I was seriously spiraling. I was conflicted with my career pathway. I was in a relationship at the time that just wasn't working. And overall, I was facing an identity crisis. But rather than reach out and talk, I did what most young men do when they feel lost, and bottled it all in. My thoughts, true feelings, and emotions were locked away in the back of my mind. But when you try to suppress these feelings, they always show up one way or another. And for me, they showed in many unhealthy ways. I used to drink hard on the weekends, so much to the point where I'd pass out. And at my worst moment, I woke up in an alleyway at 5 a.m. in the middle of the city. I would get angry easily and punch walls until my knuckles bled. And at my worst moment, I was actively self-harming. And I would get into so many arguments with my girlfriend and push away my friends. It all came to a boiling point when I was rushed into the hospital and when my girlfriend broke up with me a few days later, leaving me feeling shattered, lost, and in so much pain. I remember during that time that it felt as if I only had two options. I could either take my life there or then, or I could slowly work on rebuilding. Though these dark thoughts clouded my mind daily, I was so lucky to have friends and family that never left my side until I got better. It took months, but through my healing, I realized just how many of my friends were also going through tough times, but none of us knew. Why didn't they just tell me? Why didn't I tell them? It was this double standard appearing again, like there was this invisible wall between us. 7 out of 9 daily suicides in Australia are male. This statistic and my own mental health journey are what led me to start my not-for-profit, Man Up. A key aspect of the work we do is demonstrate that being a man is so much more than just being tough, but it's about owning our vulnerability. And through this, we aim to guide boys into becoming healthy young men. The work we do is important. But there's a reason as to why I keep doing Man Up now. A reason that hits a lot closer to home. And a reason that drives me to get up every single day. Mental health isn't really spoken about in South Asian communities. There's a huge stigma around it, and with it comes a lot of shame for the person suffering. My family comes from Sri Lanka, but my relatives and family friends all live in Melbourne. I love my family. And so in May this year, I flew over to Melbourne to spend a weekend after having not seen them since COVID first hit. I was speaking to my close family friend, who was more like a brother to me. We grew up together, we learned how to navigate life, and we shared some of the most incredible experiences together. We're chatting about everything, about life, about girls, about our dreams, and about our mental health. I remember him so distinctly telling me the importance of taking care of our mental health and how we had to work on healing our traumas. I checked in on him too to see how he was doing, and he told me that he was all right, how he was getting help for some things that he was previously struggling with. But he didn't really tell me what those things were. I didn't push it because at the time it seemed inappropriate. But I wish I did. Because 3 weeks later, I received heartbreaking news that my friend, who was like a brother to me, had taken his own life. This news shocked the whole community, but it made me angry more than anything else. Why didn't he just reach out when I was there? Why didn't I do anything to help him? I felt broken. For about a month, I cried every single day, replaying memories and dreaming of situations where I could have done things differently. As hard as it was for our family to accept reality and grieve, we slowly did. But about a month after that, my mum had to be rushed into the ambulance due to an increased heart rate. And this happened twice within a week during her birthday. She was okay, but it scared me. And then a week after that, my grandma that lives in Sri Lanka suffered a serious heart attack. Again, fear took over my body, and I was scared that I would lose her too. So we all flew over to Sri Lanka in case we had to say goodbye. Fortunately, she was okay, but after all these tragedies happening back to back, I was left feeling numb. I came back home and resorted to old, unhealthy behaviors, drinking hard on the weekends, hanging around the wrong energy, slowly spiraling back into that dark place. During this time, I was also trying to repair a relationship with my ex-girlfriend, who I genuinely still cared so much for. But as I grew numb, I wasn't able to feel anything, nor was I able to give myself fully into a commitment like this. And so a few days later, she decided it was time to say goodbye for good. All of this happened within 2 months, and it left me feeling destroyed, but more so, ashamed of the person I had resorted back into. The pain was so deep that it catapulted me into feeling all my emotions again. I felt alone. I felt embarrassed, and I would hide my vulnerability to the outside world just like I had done in 2017. And at my lowest point, I had some of those not so nice thoughts creep back up into my head. It was in this moment where, once again, I had two options. I could either keep quiet and allow my thoughts to get the better of me, or I could just reach out to a friend and talk. I reflected on my cousin and the thoughts that might have gone through his mind before he did what he did. Did he feel shame just as I did? Was sharing his vulnerability something he felt so alone in doing that he'd rather choose to stay quiet? Imagine if he had allowed someone to listen to him with an open ear. I could not let his death go in vain. And so, as hard as it was in that moment, I reached out to a friend and talked, calling them through all my panic and anxiety, allowing them to see me at my worst as a shell of a person. But do you know what happened after that? Nothing. They just sat with me and allowed me to grieve. They didn't judge me as they listened to all the thoughts going through my mind, and they didn't think any less of me as a person. Rather, they respected me more for showing them the real me, flaws and all. That moment potentially saved my life. So back to my experiment. A month ago, I started a vlog series on TikTok called Heartbreak to Heartful in an effort to process everything that I was going through, but also to show my social media world the real me, flaws and all. I didn't expect much from it, but as I posted daily, there were a flood of people watching my videos, people from all over the world. And what I learned was I was not alone. There were hundreds of people going through the exact same thing as me. And in realizing our commonality, my problems, they felt a lot lighter. I felt like I could get through them. Every day, people would message me saying how nice it was to see someone share their vulnerability online. And people would message me saying how my videos were helping them get through their challenging times too. Even when we go into high schools and I speak to the boys, I share with them my full story. And the crazy thing is, every single one of them can resonate to one aspect or another, leaving them feeling empowered by their own stories. I asked the boys the same two questions I asked you all. And sadly, most of them put their hands down when asked if they would reach out. We can see how the stigma around vulnerability affects the younger generations and how this can be quite dangerous. We need to shift the culture. To everyone in the room, please raise your hand if you have ever been through a challenging time. Look around. Vulnerability is the driving force of connection. Every single one of us goes through a tough time, but we need to accept that our struggle is just as important as a person sitting next to us. Please keep your hands raised if you think that reaching out to a friend might now be the best thing you could possibly do. Our deepest friendships are driven by vulnerability. So if we go around pretending like we're always okay, we might end up lonelier than ever before. The reason why I'm so passionate about this topic is because I'm sick and tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. I'm sick and tired of people feeling shame on a daily basis, and I'm sick and tired of people feeling so worthless that they believe taking their own lives is the only option. Perhaps if we lived in a world where sharing our stories was encouraged, my friend might still be here today. And so I would like to leave by asking you guys one last question. Are you brave enough to share your vulnerability? Magic happens when you wear your vulnerabilities on your sleeve. You don't need to publicize it like I do, but you can share it with your loved ones. Take time out of your day to tell them what's been on your mind. If someone asks you, "How are you?" tell the truth. Your story and your vulnerability is your superpower. Own it. And who knows just how many people you might inspire or even save.